This isn't my first time going overseas for a test drive, but this one is slightly different and we're going far away from sunny Singapore. But what makes this special is a touch of luxury. And the touch of luxury is this all-new BMW X2, more specifically the M35i. This is not your usual SUV. BMW would like to call this the SAC, Sports Activity Coupe. So why is it different? Let's find out. So take a look at this front indentation, and if you think to yourself, then you're actually right, because this looks like something out from the M4 or M3 counterparts. That sounded better in my head. But the real reason why the BMW X2 is kind of different from your normal SUV is because of this coupe silhouette. That's why it's called the SAC, Sports Activity Coupe. I've heard some mixed feelings about this coupe thing and the rear in general, but I don't know what you guys are on about, because I really like how this looks. It looks sporty, it looks dynamic, and it's commanding. And especially this tail light, you don't see this often on the roads, and I think it looks good. But I think the highlight of the car for most people is the front and how it looks. And obviously got really nice headlights, but I think the highlight, quite literally, is this illuminated kidneys for the X2. And this is how the illuminated grills look at night. There is no way you're not turning your head for this. I'm doing it. Jumping over to the all-electric iX2, it shares a lot of similarities with the X2 that we've been talking about because it's on the same platform. So being an all-electric vehicle, the iX2 obviously doesn't have any exhaust, so it's just kind of covered. I'm still getting used to it. I don't really have any complaints or whatsoever, but props to BMW for making it look as sporty as possible. If you're someone that likes frunks on EV, unfortunately it's not here and it's covered up with the electrical components. But there's plenty of room at the back with 525 litres for the iX2, and the X2 actually has a slightly bigger boot of 560, both of which is bigger than the X1. Okay, so I am in the iX2 right now, and I'm 180 cm and enough headroom? Definitely enough legroom. I think it's still perfectly adequate. Maybe I'm a little bit tall for this car because of the coupe silhouette, but I'm sure if you sit back, it's quite comfortable at the back. And if we look over here, you've got the aircon vents and as well as USB-C chargers. So whoever that's sitting behind, your kids, friends, or whoever that you're picking up can scroll on and on. So BMW also offers some accessories. Like you see the hanger over here. If you've got a big meeting going on, you need to put your suit, here you go. And if your kids are watching Coco Melon at the back and you want to put your iPad here, no problem. The iX2 has the same configuration as the X2. You've got the same floating kind of center console, cup holders, and the wireless charger, which I really like because it's facing you. I can't tell you the amount of times I've walked out of the car and came back to it just to grab my phone, because most of the wireless chargers kind of stowed away, so I really like this. You've also got the gear lever and the start stop over here, which is still kind of traditional that you would expect it in the center console. Some of the EVs nowadays have kind of in different positions, which I'm still getting used to. It's not really a complaint, but I like things a little bit more traditional. You've actually got a small compartment here to fit your stuff, but it's kind of small, so I think the only thing you'll be putting here maybe coins or some cash or your cards. And we are now in the X2 M35i. Of course, I'm in Portugal, so I have got to wear the jersey, right? And with the M35i, you get the massive M steering wheel, which feels really chunky in the hands. It's got quite a nice, good grip, and the M stitching really makes it very sporty. My first impression of this is that it's quite a nice drive. And of course, the M35i has this very nice sport seats, which kind of hugs you, and overall it just feels quite good. Taking corners like this, and especially in Europe, there's a lot of roundabout. It handles pretty well. I won't say it's the most nimble thing because it's quite a big car actually, even though it's a coupe silhouette. But it's not exactly huge, but you can definitely feel its commanding presence. For most of the drive, I was in comfort mode, and I have to say the suspension is doing its job, but it's definitely on the stiffer side. Some people might not like that, but I think it makes for a more sporty drive. Of course, you can kick it into sports mode and have a stiffer steering. With almost 300 horsepower and 400 Newton meters of torque, it was quite fun to drive through the twists and turns of the scenic roads. It didn't feel sluggish at all, and the icing on the cake is that it sounds pretty good.
And now in the iX2 xDrive 30, even though these two cars look pretty similar, but they are really quite different to drive. With the iX2 being an EV, you don't have that engine noise, but you can always personalize and select the soundscape when you do accelerate. And the iX2 definitely goes with the instant torque known to EVs. Secondly, you can tell that this is definitely a softer and more comfortable ride. It's not to say the M35i isn't comfortable, but I think most people might prefer the ride on the iX2. And this ties in with why we are getting a version that has less power in Singapore to fit into the Cat A COE. And I can see there will be a lot of interest for the iX2. Even though this is not the exact car that will be in Singapore, but the characteristics and the vibe of the car should remain. Once again, it's not the cushiest thing in the world, but I've driven on uneven B roads and on the highway, and it's definitely something that most will enjoy driving without a problem.
And I have to say, I really enjoyed my time here driving around Portugal on these scenic roads. Be it the X2 and the iX2, I felt really comfortable and confident, and it was just a fun drive. If you really like that coupe silhouette as much as I do, then the only question is to get an EV or not.